all you cool cats and space cowboys. It's time for Cosmic Tea with your host, Avalon Starlight.
Welcome, magical humans. I'm super excited about today's guest because this is an actual personal relationship to me, somebody who I hold very, very dear to my heart. As empaths, healers, highly sensitive people, and those who work with divine gifts, oftentimes we spend most of our time focusing our attentions on how other people feel, how they're seen, how they're appreciated. And for the first time in my life, this guest that I have today reflected back to me who I am at the very core of my being. She saw me, my brand, how I show up in the world, and she gave me confidence to go out and share my message in a completely different way. And so I'm so deeply honored and grateful to introduce to you Riki Silzer today on the podcast. Riki, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you. It is such an honor. I also just love everything about you, and you help me on so many different levels as well.
Thank you. So I'm gonna describe what I think you do, and then I want you to tell the listeners your version of what you do. So I see you as a catalyst for transformation and change within a person. You do that through visual artistry, by mirroring back like exactly who a person is on all of their energetic planes, like the physical plane, the etheric plane, the cosmic plane. Like you have a way of like finding the very essence of a soul and then giving a graphic to that person where, like, for me, I was like, oh my gosh, that is me. If I could have picked a design or a logo or something to represent myself, I didn't know what I wanted, but you are a mirror of the soul. So that's how I would describe and define you. But I would love to hear what you say on your bio if you were to describe yourself.
Wow, that is quite a beautiful rendition. and I may have to get you to do some copywriting for me.
Always.
But honestly, I've never seen myself in that way. I know I have these gifts, but you're the first person really to, besides one other, to really tell me how much impact I've had on your life with my graphic design. So it is a new feeling for me to embrace all you said. It has been challenging because I've been behind the scenes for 30 some years doing this, and coming out from behind the scenes and showing the world this gift or gifts that I have has been quite challenging.
Uncomfortable, maybe?
Yes, but that's what this is all about, right? Allow me to work with you or a person and get them to show up authentically through their visuals. And to do that, I have to walk the talk as well. Right? And a lot's going on. And I don't know if I answered your question correctly, but or I kind of went on a tangent, and that's all good.
I think it's fair to say, like, I'm popping your podcast cherry. We can put that out there for everybody to hear so that we can just take some tension off. This is the first podcast you've been on. Is this true, Riki?
Yes, very, very true. I've been invited before and they've all been canceled. Not by me, but others. So this is the right timing. And I'm a little on the nervous side, but I'm getting there.
Which I'm just celebrating and appreciating, because I think that one of the things that I want this podcast to help people understand is that we can do hard things.
Yes.
Right? That anytime we get to a perimeter where we are about to expand or shift or grow into another iteration of ourselves, that our ego and we'll get hold of our brain and tell us all the reasons that things could go bad or why things are a bad idea. And can you share what happened a couple of days ago? Are you open to that?
Oh, sure. 100%. I was in panic mode. I reached out to you through Messenger, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I don't even really remember what I said to you, but it was just like, I'm freaking the F out. Yeah. And the message you sent me was perfectly divine, and it was the right message because it inspired me to reflect on past situations in my life that, like, I've challenged myself to go on live video and I blacked out, and that's where a lot of this angst comes from, I think, is having that repeat itself.
Isn't
But
that the truth, right?
yeah.
Like, do you know when the fear of the video actually started?
No, and I'm not sure because I went to journalism school. I took pictures of everybody. I took pictures of me, and it was a different kind of world then. Like, everything was not on the internet. And you could share things with people, the ones you wanted to share with, right? And so I think growing up during that time, it's just that kind of mentality maybe that I have. And when the internet became so big with social media and TikTokers dancing away, everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame, and it's great. It's great. I applaud them. But that's not me. I want intention in there. Like, say your words, be productive, just don't go on to go on. And yeah. So the video, I think, for me is quite fascinating because I see, like, and I'm not bashing the Kardashians or people like that, but reality TV and stuff, when it started in the 90s, there was some great stuff in there, but come on, 25 years or however many seasons of the same old shit but a different pile. I don't know if we could swear, but
Yeah, absolutely.
But that just I see a lot how culture influences, like, youngsters and all how it transcribes into the world today. I think because I've reflected on so much in my life. Like, I've had I could see 3 distinct areas of growth in my life throughout. Like, today's my birthday. I'm 54. I'm a crone, and I'm proud of it. Thank you. So I wanted the energy of the birthday portal around me today because I feel it will help me get through this as well. Yeah.
Well, and I think that a significant thing to talk about is the impact that these, very intense, chaotic, dramatic, over the top lifestyles have on the youth of today, and how it impacts how they feel about themselves and how they show up in a relationship, or the expectation that they have of their lives and the world around them. So I deeply honor that, because I think that what you do with your work is the polar opposite of that.
Mm-hmm. Like, I feel that I really dig deep. I'm not shallow. I want you and me to show up 100% all the time in our true selves. And that will garner the right people following you. It will gather your tribe, if you want to say it that way. You'll have the right people following you. If like, in my mind, social media can be a great thing. It's how it's used, just like anything else in the world, right?
True.
Yeah.
True. So in the surface, we'll just say that you are a graphic designer. Like, that would be like how normal people would just define what it is that you do, right?
Those muggles.
Those muggles. I just finished Wednesday. Or no, it's a book that I'm reading, Carry On. and Carry On is it's a young adult fantasy book, and they call normies those who are so it's whether a muggle or a normie, right?
Yeah.
That they would see you as a graphic designer,
Yes.
right? So I'm going to kind of lead into where that began for you and how you've evolved into what you do now and the spiritual impact that you use in order to create what you actually do, because it has an entity what you create, like it's alive what you create. But I want to know from the very beginning, what got you into graphic designing or creating visual representation of things in the first place?
Ooh, this is juicy. It might take you down a little rabbit hole here. I grew up in a small town in Canada, in the northern part of Canada, and it's called Yellowknife.
Yellowknife.
North.
Yeah.
The North.
What province is this? Because everybody understands the provinces.
Yeah, Northwest Territories.
So like, I just need everybody to understand that if you look at like the provinces that go across like diagonally across Canada, there's these two upper ones that sit at the very, very top that not a lot of people talk about. So they, like, when you think of Canada A and the like snows that never end and the darkest of days, we're talking about where you're from, Riki.
Yes. I wasn't born up there, but I mean, essentially grade 1 to 12. And it was the the epitome of my teenage, well, I wouldn't say it's epitome, but I think certain people love certain age brackets and the decades that they were in, right? And mine was the 80s when I was a angry punk. Jocks and bullies and all that. I mean, we still have them, right? But just different. And I was trying to make a social stance, and there was 5 of us in a town of 19,000, or a city of 19,000 plus a little bit. And that was like my creativity coming out. And I've always been creative. Like, from a young age, I've been drawing and entering art contests and winning art contests and
There were 5 of you that were punks. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Interesting times. But I reflect back on a lot of the lessons I learned during that time, and one of it was judgment of that people put on other people for the way they look. And I was trying to create a persona to protect me. And I realize that now. It was a very harsh exterior, but I loved it. It was fun. I worked in a hair salon. I was able to do hair colors, like, and I was one of the weird ones. Like, I won the weirdest dresser award in high school.
I love that.
Yeah, I loved it too. But I didn't realize how impactful I was at that point. And that's the thing. We don't realize half the time how impactful we are on other people's lives. But anyways, let me digress and go back to your question. Excuse me. I loved writing. I loved creating art. And in grade 12, I went to the guidance counselor because I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I wanted to go to art school. My dad said, hell no, I'm not paying for you to be a starving artist. And so I went to the guidance counselor and I said, well, I don't know what I can do. And he said, you can't do anything. And I was hurt, extremely hurt. He wouldn't give me the time of day or explain how university works or anything like that. So I did my research and finally decided upon journalism school. And that was in Calgary. And I went there, and the population of campus was the same as my hometown.
Oh my gosh.
And interesting enough, like, I went down there with the punk hair and everything. I thought that it would be more accepted, but it wasn't. And the teachers were really there, yeah, choice words there, but still another learning experience. And that was during the year of the 1987 Olympics. So we were in residence for the first part of 1987, and then the winter came with the Winter Olympics, of course, and we had to relocate to a different apartment. And then when I went back to residence, I was asked to leave.
What?
Yeah, I partied too much.
Oh.
I was not the ideal student, and most of my grades were suffering.
Right.
Because I just struggled so much in who I thought I knew who I was, but going into this different culture and experiencing life on your own the first time, and being able to like really go out and drink and have fun. I think everybody should do that.
I agree. I think
Really. And
that's
you know
very
what? Being asked to leave, that was the best thing, because it forced me, or not, force is not the right word, but it allowed me to like go back home. And at first my tail was between my legs, I a little shamed, and I dealt with that, but I found a job at the newspaper. And that was in the ad department. So I was doing the old pay stub, and I absolutely loved it. Fast forward a year later, I tried journalism school again. I saved enough money. I was accepted into the same school again. I got better marks. I was older, wiser, not much, but so what happened was there was a graphics program, and my marks in that absolutely soared. Like, it was like I had no idea there was such a world. It was like the heavens opened up. And I called my dad up later, probably in the third semester, and I said, I have to switch majors. I have to. Journalism is not me, because I cannot go chase an ambulance and take photos of hurt people. I would fake the photos, actually, me and my roommate. I would hire her to go, because they were black and white photos for newsprint. I would hire her to go lie under a parked car, and I would squirt ketchup on her. Because I couldn't do that other stuff. I felt everything. I'm like, what about those families? What about this? Like, it just, that to me was devastating. And I knew I was extremely emotional.
So did you know you were an empath at that point, or that you were sensitive? Like, it's so funny. I didn't learn those words until I was in my 30s, and it made sense. But
yeah,
clearly you were empathic and picking up on everybody else's energy.
Yeah. And interesting enough, during these expansive times of growing up, like in my younger, I'd say probably about 10, I saw my first ghost. And but when I was back in Yellowknife, between that break of school times, I was dating an older guy, and we were camping. And my parents had a dog team, and
that's what I'm saying. When you think of Canada, Yellowknife is what you're going to think of, like this vision. It's like,
yeah, exactly. And we were camping. My parents were on holidays. It was my responsibility to go back into town and feed all the dogs. And so that night, we went to bed, and I was like, okay, good. I had a dream that kept waking me up, and I'm like, what is going on? And I didn't understand it. So the next morning, I get into the vehicle to go back into town, and that point, you didn't have to wear seatbelts. But I felt I had to put my seatbelt on. So I did. And being the non-experienced driver that I can say I am now, it was a gravel road, and I hit a soft shoulder, and I rolled the vehicle. And my head was probably like a boulder smashed through the driver's side window, and my head was probably about 3 inches from it.
Oh, wow.
And I was extremely lucky, but I had guidance. And I've had premonitory dreams all my life and never understood it. But that was the one that was the biggest explosion in my brain.
That kind of anchored it in, that there was something that was guiding and supporting you. And how old were you
Yes.
then, Riki?
19.
19. So you started, like, were you aware at that point that divine intervention was happening? Like,
I didn't know what to call it, but I knew there was something going on. Yes.
gotcha.
Yeah. I thought I was just kind of a weirdo, you know, like, I mean, at that point, I started like going right into the tarot cards and the, you know, numerology, astrology, anything I could get my hands on from books and knowledge. Yeah, it was interesting because when I went back for the second time in journalism school, I did go on expeditions and meet people and interview people. The funniest thing, in the news collecting class, we were supposed to write certain groups to get information about their groups to see if they would mail us all that stuff. My idea was the Satanic Church. I wanted more information because they don't advertise a lot, right?
Yeah, it's true. They're not in the newspaper that I've ever seen.
Yeah. So, you know, curious minds want to know. Every other church does it. Why don't you guys? So, I brought in the letter and my teacher read it out in class. They sent me a membership form.
That's amazing.
Never filled it out, just so you know. But you know what? Religion is religion, and if you want to follow whatever, you know, I'm good with that. But it's not something for me. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think that there's I could go on a little rant here, but I won't, about misperceptions about different religions as well, because I have a child who loves the dark arts and Baphomet and all the fallen angels and works with them and studies them, and they're actually quite light-filled when you can see beyond the stigma of them. So not that my child goes to the satanic church. However, the work with demons doesn't have to be dark. That's all I'm saying.
That's right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's
Exactly.
how we work with these energies that really allows us to like be in a creative relationship with them. So I'm curious now, because this seems to be the point where your spirituality kind of kicked in, like at a higher level, right? And now you've kind of found your calling, which is the graphic design. And at what point in you being a graphic designer did you understand that merging the two would be something really amazing?
Okay, so interesting enough, I dropped a lot of my spirituality in my late 20s. I met my ex-husband at that point. We got married, we had a baby, and life took over. Then after maternity leave, we moved back up to Yellowknife, my husband and I, and I was working. I got a job at this amazing place that I always wanted to work because it was so fun. It had the printing presses, it had the design department, and just the work that came out of there was so beautiful in my mind. There was corporate stuff, there was fun stuff, there was everything. And so that I started there in 2002, and I think it was about 2003 or 4, I had a dream another dream that about a calendar, a promotion calendar for this business that I worked for. And I went to my boss the next day and I said, can I talk to you? I had this kind of vision, if you want to say. And she listened and she's like, that's bizarre, but I like it. And so we moved forward with it. And it was stunning. And everybody loved it. It was a collector's item. It became that. So that showed me I'm getting kind of energy here. That showed me what kind of gift I had, that these dreams are telling me something. And that's when I start working and listening more to my dreams. I would practice saying an intention at night. This is what I'm going to dream about. And I would. And yeah, I've always been fascinated with dreams too. And it's weird that I never found the right book to explain it to me. I'm like, yeah, I know that already. I've tried that. I've done it. But I think it's because everybody is so individualized, that not one person can explain how to do what I do or do what they do.
Well, either dream walk or receive the vision or the information or communicate with whatever divine being you communicate with. I felt this way when I downloaded that I could read chakras. I used to get told by previous coaches, they would say, oh, you need to teach your process. You need to teach how you read chakras. And I said, but I can't. And they said, why? Because I said, I don't believe that we all read chakras the same way. I believe that we read or we receive our information based on who we're here to support, who we're here to guide, right? So my community, the people that I'm here to serve, they require the information the way that I receive it for them. But for me to teach it, that's trying to fit a circle into a square for the most of the population, right? Because their information and the way they receive it should and is different than anything else that I do. So I'm with you on that one, wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was I moved to Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. That's where I'm at now, in 2007. And at that point, I'm divorced, or well, separated. And I came here for a job. I had the jobs, everything. 2 weeks later, I was let go.
Oh, wow.
And I was in shock. I've never been let go or fired in my lifetime. I've always done the leaving. And I'm like, okay, well, it was a blessing because I did not agree with how this business operated. It felt so wrong for me. And I would probably quit within a month anyways. So it was perfect. And then I found a program through the government, the provincial and federal government, that allowed me to take a course, learn about business, and launch a business. So January 2008, I launched my first business, and it was called Fire Monkey Design Studio. And I had that come through me in a dream. I'm a fire sign in Western astrology, and I'm a monkey in Chinese astrology. And I blended the two together. It felt right. So I did that. And I had that business for about 5 years. And the first year, it was amazing. I did amazing work. But towards the end, I was burning myself out. I didn't know at that point that I was in human design a projector, a mental projector. And we're very different than most. We're not the kind of people that have the motors to keep going. And so I wasn't doing self-care. I wasn't doing all that stuff that I know now. And I really hurt myself badly. So I had to learn all about this stuff all over again. And it was probably well, I went through depression after shutting down that because it was a grieving period. yeah, there's a lot to go in that. So 2008 to 2013, I still did graphic design after that, but I was lost. It felt not solid. I called it freelancing. Not much in there for freelancing. It was corporate. I've done hardcover books, everything. I work with theater companies, musicians, you name it, I've done it. I haven't done a music album though, like a rock and roll one. I've done a folk person, like artist, but I want like Kiss or Black Sabbath, come to me. But then it was around 2016, 17. Everything just came whooshing in, and a huge awakening that I have this gift. I need to start harnessing it. Yeah.
How would you define your gift now that it's been like 5 years since that awakening?
There's ups and downs still. Like, I haven't harnessed it fully, and I'm still learning how, but I do have systems that I have in place. Like, for instance, when I create your brand or anybody's brand, that first meeting I have with you on a Zoom call, you don't have to say yes or no, but I'm taking in everything I can to understand who you are on that cellular level, if that makes sense.
Can I ask a question about that? So
Sure.
when you say you're taking everything in, does that mean that you're taking in emotions? Are you getting visuals? Are you getting like imprints? Are you like, what is it that you're taking in? Because this is the part where I get really excited, because I love to hear how other people's gifts work for them.
Okay, so it's interesting because as I talk to someone, I get visuals. Like, they're right there in my ajna, like bing, bing, bing. It's like, oh, I got to write that down. And like, even this one client, her name's Celeste. We had this talk. I was in a course with her, but she said, I'm thinking of rebranding, and she just had to say that to activate me. I had a dream that night, and I went back to her the next day because she wasn't sure about me at that point. And I said, Celeste, I'm okay if you go somewhere else, really, truly, but I had a dream, and I'd like to kind of like play with this if you're good with it. And I could do that as a projector because I knew her.
Right.
And but typically I have to be invited. So I work through referrals mostly, and people seeing me and asking questions and inviting me into their world. And then the invitation I give is we meet on Zoom and we talk, and it could be anything, just like this podcast, about anything in life or about your business, what excites you, and visuals start coming up. But I also I'll ask certain questions depending on the person. I don't have a set question. So that's interesting too. And I do ask mostly, like, not mostly, but sometimes about their business and what it means to them. Because really, the business is an extension of your embodiment of yourself, right? Or your own soul, or it's how you want to be seen and how you want to help people. Because I think working with spiritual clients is one of the biggest things or greatest things I've decided to do versus corporate, because that just killed me. Yeah, it was, oh, do I have to do that again? It's so tedious.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people listening who can appreciate that statement, especially if they're in their awakening, going through something, coming into their gifts, starting to trust themselves. So did you always trust your dreams? Like, whatever you received in the dreams, was it just something that you were innately knew as being absolute?
Yes. Yeah.
And so I'm going to talk about it from my perspective for a quick second, Riki, because what you did for me, like when we decided to work together, I knew that you were going to create something for me. I didn't really know what was going to happen, right?
Mhm.
So I, as a, human being on the planet who I was like, great, I'm getting new branding from Riki. It's going to be amazing. And so my first thought was like, great, where's my colors and what's my fonts, right? What are my
Yes.
colors and what are my fonts? And you looked at me and you said, those don't matter until we know how your business feels. And as an empath, it really impacted me because I was like, it's true. The colors and the fonts are amazing, but how do I want my brand to feel? That as an empath is like the ultimate thing to say, right?
Mhm.
And then I'll have you describe your process. And then 4 weeks later, I got this booklet, and guys, I cannot explain to you what it felt like. There was 44 pages about the etymology of my name, both my spirit given name, my birth name. You did my human design, my numerology, my Ogham numbers, like what symbols, and like everything that you could collect that was a representation of me and my spirit and my soul. And all of a sudden it was there in 44 pages. And from there you created my logo based on all of this information. And that's what I meant by, at the beginning of this podcast, when I said I have never felt more seen in my life. It was like a reflection of everything I didn't know that I needed to know about myself. And seeing those logos that you had created, they weren't logos anymore, right? They were like extensions of me. Ones I didn't even know I needed till I had them. And then I was like, oh my goodness, there's no way that I don't want everybody to experience what it is that I just received, meaning my brand. Like I wanted everybody to see my brand, feel my brand, connect with my brand, because it just felt so authentic to me. So that was the outcome that I received, right? So now I use everything that you create and everything that I do. But from that point where you get that yes to, we receive these booklets, what's that process look like for you?
Oh, I'm so excited about everything. Like I love deep diving into family history, like your names, like your like actual birth name was fascinating with the history, because it goes back to Welsh, and I believe yours had the royalty. Yes.
Well, and it was what really got me, that you had put in there, was that I was told my name was Avalon Starlight because I feel so connected to the mystic isle of Avalon, that my history is there, that I was a portal there, that I have been a priestess there. And somehow you found from my birth name that one of my ancestors was a priest in a church at the Tor, which is in Avalon, right? Like he was like a druidic priest. He had to have been in the Tor, but he was at the Tor. And I was like, how did I not know this? How did this information not? So it kind of connected many dots for me in terms of my own personal history and why I am the way I am and how I am the way that I am.
Yes. So, I mean, it just fascinates me because we're all on this earth given our names for a purpose, for a reason. Like my actual birth name is Erica, and I know in English that means Heather, but that's all I've done for myself, because my last name is very difficult to find information on. But there's other ways I can manipulate what I do to like do my own symbol, but my symbol that I use for myself feels right for me. So I do have different processes, but with you, for instance, or clients that want this sigil or signet that I create, it really is a process that I absolutely love 100%. I'm not a specialist in any of the modalities. It's just the love of research and tying the threads of your life together and seeing it from, instead of seeing it with the blinders on, or as a regular designer would, like getting a scope of what the project is. I'm taking everything that you are and creating the scope and working from the visuals that come from what your life tells me, and building from there.
And does dreaming come into that sometimes? Like, do you get
Most of the time?
Most of the time of
Yeah.
like how to tie all of the pieces? Because I mean, if you're looking at somebody's human design, their gene keys, their like numerology, like that's a lot of information. So I would almost think it would be confusing. However, if you have the dreams to kind of pull the core pieces together.
Yeah. So for instance, with your numerology and astrology, there was a common thread of numbers, and numbers mean things, right? You've got angel numbers, you've got Pythagoras theory. I don't know if I said his name right. And I have an absolute love with sacred geometry, which ties in everything from I think the existence of Earth or the universe, like there's so much out there that people don't understand, or we want to understand. And I used, like you said, you were always attracted to the Merkaba, but you didn't know why. And it's actually written in your book now. There is a tie to everything in your life that is driven by the Merkaba.
Yeah, it's so strange. Yeah, like it just came to me that it was important to me, and I didn't know why until I saw it in my book. So how does the dreaming tie it all together for you?
Okay, so for instance, the client Celeste, I didn't expect to do I called them sacred sigils at that time. I've shifted it now to signet, because sigil just doesn't feel right, but anybody could call them whatever they want. Like it's just my
I call
terminology.
them my shield, so I
Yes,
know
yes.
that because it's like your family shield. So mine are
Yeah.
called.
and that's great, because shields are protective as well. Like, yeah, it could be a brand, it could be a shield, it could be anything you want it to be. Yeah. So dreaming, like with Celeste, I had the dream, and I hadn't developed this method at that point. I was using my old working processes for that. So I just followed the dream completely with that image. And since developing this method, what I've done is I just go to bed with intentions. I speak them out, and or journal, and I ask for extra guidance on the image, or what images or icons do I take from your history, what I've learned of you, and what I ask for the guidance on what to use. And when I put them together, like for instance, your Merkaba, I don't use that per se in the artwork or in your brand. I use it as almost like ley lines. It's a grid pattern that I'm following behind the scenes. So it's just an infusion. And because, I mean, honestly, everybody has sacred geometry out there. This is your own. This is your own.
So true.
Yes.
So I've got two questions for you. One being, if somebody is coming into being a dream empath, right? Like they just starting to like tune into their dreams and receive information in their dreams. Do you have any guidance or support for them, or something to say that would help them kind of like trust what they're receiving a little bit more, or open up to what they're receiving a little more? Like, is there anything you would say?
Ooh, that's a juicy one. I think, if they can understand what running it through their system means, like for me, when I have a dream and I know it's true, I just know it's true.
Right.
But if I feel there's a tinge of like, okay, something's off here, I'll run it through and just feel if it feels true. And I think that will take some learning on people, like for people. It's not a typical sense that a muggle would carry with them on a daily basis, right? But a lot do, because they say go with your gut feeling. So you can use that terminology to kind of like feel into it. But there is, I feel, a stronger sense once you develop that.
Once you can run it through your system and receive if that like if it's true for you or not true for you.
Yeah. But honestly, I feel that a word of wisdom is allow yourself grace and believe the information that you're getting is coming to you for a reason. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if people are listening to you on your first podcast and they're feeling connected, because it's not the words we say, it is just simply the vibration of the right person being in the right space at the right time, listening to you. You're giving them courage. You are giving them, the ability to get through their fears, Riki. So I honor that on your birthday. And they're listening to this and they're like, she does what now? She like creates this like really potent manifestation in a physical form of the very core of my being that I can share with the world with such authentic, like attunement and alignment. Where would people go to find out more about you and creating a sacred signet for themselves?
I simply have a website, and you can find me on Facebook or Instagram.
What is that?
Okay, so everything I do is under Rise Frequency. So my website is risefrequency.com, and that name came to me in a dream too. And on Facebook, I'm under Riki Silzer, RIKI SILZER. And then I do have Rise Frequency graphic design or intuitive graphic design on Facebook as well. And on Instagram, it's just Rise Frequency. Yeah.
Which is amazing. Like you truly are a very gifted channel for divine like information to flow through. And I am just so grateful that Spirit was like, you two must smash together to create these wonderful experiences together. And so let me just say, I'm super proud of you for coming on, even though you were scared on your birthday, using this high vibrational energy to share your message, because I think it's really important for you to step out of the shadow and into the light and really be seen for these catalytic experiences and transformational moments that you offer people through the lens of a brand, right? Like I know that the verbiage is branding, but really, Riki, you do so much more than that. Like I want to bring that to the light.
Thank you. I really want to shift the whole world up in my industry. I'd like to be able to share my gifts with others so they can learn. I don't know if teach how to do my stuff, because it's just natural for me. I'm a 6'2" in human design, and I'm learning so much about that, where I am supposed to teach, but things just come natural to me and I don't know how to explain them, so that's going to be a process.
This podcast can be the first step towards that.
Yes.
Right?
So yeah, there's a lot to do in the world, I think, for everybody. Marketing, I'd like to see shift. Let's just be truthful and intentional and create a better world. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that is a very powerful way to end today's podcast. And if you are feeling inclined to just check up on Rise Frequency, I would do so, because if you get the sensations or feelings in your body that there is an aligned connection, I always say at least be curious about those things and connect in with yourself, as like Riki had said, run it through your system. And if you feel a vibrational yes, there's no harm in looking. And I cannot wait to tune in again in the next episode to share even more magic with you all. Have a wonderful day.